Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Thank you so much for joining me today. We have an awesome show planned for you. I hope you had a great holiday season, a great Christmas, a great New Year's. I hope that your new year has started on the right foot. We're going to try to get today's show off on the right foot by having another Fearless show and episode. We have a lot to talk about. It's going to be a tiny bit difficult for me, and I want to apologize. We still got the Christmas trees up and all that. We had some weather here in Nashville, and I told Tiffany, hey, don't worry about coming in today. Things get a little dicey, icy here in Nashville, and people don't know how to handle it, and so better safe than sorry. And so hopefully later in the week, Tiffany will be back, this weather will clear up, and we'll get rid of the Christmas trees and all that. But who cares? If some people leave their Christmas trees up for a month after Christmas, we still got ours up. But I'm excited about today's show, and I'm a tiny bit concerned about today's show. This is going to be a lot for me to work through as it relates to the events the lawsuit that has engulfed Fox Sports 1, and it has given me a lot to talk about today because I think this lawsuit, as it relates to the allegations against Skip Bayless and Joy Taylor and Charlie Dixon, these are all people, and Lusheen, the hairstylist, these are all people that I know and don't. Even Shannon Sharpe will come into this. People think I have like all this animus towards Shannon Sharpe. I really don't. I just understand the position they're in, and you know, because I like to talk about these issues, the media and what's wrong with the media and why we're lied to so often and why it's so hard to get the truth out of the media. The events that have engulfed Fox Sports with this lawsuit, these allegations that, the hairstylist was sexually harassed and that Joy Taylor was sleeping with this person and that person, and that's how she rose up the ladder, and just all of it intersects with things that we talk about on this show all the time. But I'm normally talking about people that I know less about than this situation and this group. And so it's going to be a little bit difficult for me, but the show is called Fearless because I'm supposed to be fearless, and the conversations we're supposed to have on this show are fearless. So before I start unpacking that, and we will at some point today talk about Jerod Mayo getting fired. We will talk about Shedeur Sanders not having a first-round grade on his draft status. We'll talk about the Vikings-Lions game last night. Mike Tomlin, we'll discuss that as well in terms of some people are like, hey, the expiration date's here for Mike Tomlin. So we'll get it, but it's going to take me a while to work through this Fox Sports situation and deal. So I got to be fearless. And the only reason why I can be fearless is because you guys support the Fearless mission. And for those of you looking for a way to contribute to what we're doing here at Fearless and support, I really can't ask you strongly enough to go to fearlessmission.com, use the promo code FEARLESS, and become a subscriber. Use that promo code FEARLESS. You'll get $20 off your yearly subscription. I need you to do that. It'll give you access to everything we do here at Fearless, give you access to everything that the Blaze has to offer as well. The Fearless promo code, get $20 off. Just wanted to start there. And now I'm about to give you the take and try to unpack this Fox Sports thing to the best of my ability to justify, like, hey, this is why you need to support me and us and what we're doing here, because no one does it more authentically. No one does it better than we do here at Fearless. So let me read you this. I want to start by reading an excerpt, I believe, from this. Oh, boy, what did I do here? From this Front Office Sports article that started all this yesterday. The headline is Fox, Skip Bayless, others sued on 14 counts, including sexual battery. The suit alleges Bayless offered the plaintiff $1.5 million to have sex with him, and that FS1 executive grabbed her buttocks at a party. And so the story starts out with this. A former Fox Sports hairstylist alleges in a lawsuit that a network executive used his position to sexually harass women, as well as that Skip Bayless touched her inappropriately and propositioned her for sex. Nushin Farji, I believe is Nushin's last. I know how to pronounce the first name. I'm not sure if I can pronounce the last name. Farji is what I want to say, who says she worked at Fox Sports from 2012 through last August, made a series of allegations in the 42-page lawsuit obtained by Front Office Sports, Fox, Fox Sports, FS1, FS2, Fox Sports. EVP Charlie Dixon, Skip Bayless, and FS1 host Joy Taylor are listed as defendants in the lawsuit. In the suit filed Friday in Los Angeles, Nushin alleges that Dixon, the head of content for FS1, grabbed her buttocks at a birthday party in Hollywood, and when she relayed the encounter to Joy Taylor, the Fox host allegedly told her to get over it. So that's the Front Office Sports article, which is pretty tame. They link you to the 42-page lawsuit, and the lawsuit is not tame at all. Nushin, who I knew personally, was a hairstylist that occasionally did some things for me, but let me say off top, I was a fan of Nushin in terms of thought she was a good person, thought that she was a friendly person, easy to get along with. Did I think that Nushin, and that's Joy Taylor, and then that's Nushin off to the right on my screen at least, helping her with her hair. Did I think that Nushin and all the women in hair and makeup at Fox Sports needed to be handled carefully? Yes, I did. And anybody that knew me and knew my reputation at Fox Sports, it was like, hey, I'm gonna come into this makeup room, I'm going to say very, very little because I'm not going to give any of you all leverage over me. I'm not going to make a mistake and allow some woman that I know a little bit but don't really know to have leverage over me. And so I was kind of the odd duck at Fox Sports I was nice and I was friendly, and I'm gonna give everybody a nice Christmas gift. But in terms of revealing myself personally, in terms of the harmless or the kind of flirtation that others and banter that others like to engage in, not me. Not gonna happen. And it's partially out of like, I know that I'm a target. I know that the kind of opinions that I expressed at Fox Sports made me a target, and that people were looking for dirt on me, and so I just didn't want to give it to them. And I'm also someone that fortunately had a father who was very, very street smart. And one of the things my dad told me very, very early on, and I think I've shared this story once before on air here, but my dad was a small business owner in the ghetto. He owned a bar, the Masterpiece Lounge. Before that, he owned one called Jimmy's J Bar J in Indianapolis. And my dad was a much better looking man than me. My dad looked like Billy D. Williams, 6'1", striking, dressed impeccably every day. He was a ghetto superstar, a good looking dude. And he had his way with women. And as I got older, and my dad and our conversation matured, I'll never forget, my dad had a barmaid named Debbie. And Debbie was a smoke show. I mean, just a smoke show. Everybody loved Debbie. You can't be prettier than what Debbie was. And Debbie was very dark skinned. Debbie was just everything. And so I can remember in my early 20s, my dad and our relationship had matured to the point where I could joke with him. And I would say to my dad, I was like, you got to be tapping that. You tapping Debbie, ain't you? And my dad, I can never forget, he was like, no. And he was just like, with no joke, no, he took it very serious. Like, no, Jason, once you start screwing them as the employer, you start working for them. And he goes, I don't want to work for Debbie. And so I'm not doing that. And that message, that little lesson he gave has stuck with me throughout the rest of my life. Everybody thinks, oh, I'm gonna be the boss one day and I'm gonna be so powerful that women will do anything for me, to work for me or to get promoted, blah, blah, blah. And my dad told me long ago, like, that's not a fantasy, that's not a dream, that's a nightmare scenario. That woman you start sleeping with on the job, and if you're her boss, now she becomes your boss. Never left my head. And so this conversation we're going to embark on today will be more of an adult conversation. And for those of you that are really far along in your journey, your faith walk, you know, some of the things we may get into, we'll see, oh man, Jason, that's too adult and blah, blah. I got to keep it real with you today. And I think you should listen. I think you should perhaps invite your young sons, your young daughters to listen and to have a discussion with you so that if they go off into the workforce, when they go off into the workforce, they will be equipped mentally to deal with the mess that we have created. This whole, and again, this is why I say it attaches to the themes that we talk about on this show, the complications that they never explain to you in real life about this whole equality, and men and women are just the same. And we all need to be piled into the same work environment, the same locker room environment, the same everything. We're all just the same. Well, there's complications that go along with that. Because one, we're not all the same. And two, when you dump men and women into the same environment, you're introducing sexual politics and sexual malfeasance, and you're introducing sexual tension into that environment. And most people just don't handle it well. And that's why you hear me talk on this show constantly about there's a level of righteousness that we all must strive for and we all must adhere to if we want to fix American culture. And so this story that is coming out of Fox Sports, initially it's like, oh, look, Nusheen, the hairstylist, is saying Skip Bayless offered her X amount of dollars for sex and sexually harassed her. Charlie Dixon allegedly was sleeping with female on-air talent and Joy Taylor and blah, blah, blah. And you think that that's what the story is about. And what we ended up, and as you watch this play out, no one's really talking about Skip Bayless. No one's really talking about Charlie Dixon. Everybody's talking about Joy Taylor and what she allegedly did, according to this lawsuit, what she allegedly did to become a talk show host at Fox Sports 1. That's the real takeaway, and that's the real story from this. And it's not that I don't say that to exonerate Charlie Dixon or Skip Bayless or Emmanuel Acho or anybody else. I'm just telling you the reality that Joy Taylor is a symbol of this whole feminist movement, this whole Black Queens movement, this whole DEI movement, this whole sharing everything with women, and hey, there's got to be a woman host on all of these shows. Well, there's consequences to that. And this whole system has been set up to create the kind of chaos and division and inefficiency and corruption that we're seeing spelled out in this lawsuit, but we're seeing spelled out all across American media. we'll stick to sports media, but this all applies to cable news and hard news media, the whole 9 yards. When the goal is, in sports media, hey, how can we discover the next Aaron Andrews? How can we discover the next sideline Barbie? How can we empower the next hot girl that becomes a television star? Well, now you're putting male executives in a position where they're constantly interviewing 25, 26, 27-year-old women who don't know all that much about sports. They pretend that they do know a lot about sports. And hey, Joy Taylor's brother is in the NFL Hall of Fame. And that means what? That she knows football? Hardly, in my opinion, and in everybody's opinion. Does that mean, oh, her brother's in the Hall of Fame? I want to hear what Joy Taylor has to say about football and basketball. No, we don't. And Joy Taylor knows that. She knows that she has very little to offer. And so what does she end up offering up? If she doesn't have insight, if she hasn't paid her dues and become some great journalist, what does she have to offer? And what has she been offering on Fox Sports? And I don't say this to be hypercritical of Joy Taylor. I don't have harsh opinions of Joy Taylor. She's not someone that I didn't get along with. I basically, for the most part, just kept my distance from Joy Taylor. And I kept my distance not because I didn't like her, it's just because I knew myself. I know myself. I know what I'm capable of. And that big rack of hers that she showed off constantly, it's just, and that peanut butter skin with that big rack, like, Jay, keep your distance. That's going to get you into trouble. And so that's what I did. I kept my distance. Because when you put some woman in a job, talking sports with a bunch of men, it's a job she's not qualified for. She's talking sports with professional athletes, people that did it at the highest level. She's talking sports with me or Colin Cowherd or other people that have really studied sports at a super high level. What does she have to offer other than her sex appeal? And so should we be surprised that she leaned into that? No, we should. They put her in that position where it's the only thing she had to offer, and so she offered it up and got what she wanted. Let's think this through. As if you go into the lawsuit and the things that Nusheen says and the way she says things played out, Joy Taylor was some sort of fill-in talk show host down in Miami who, people in Miami kind of knew who she was. I think she may have had some association with Dan Le Batard or whatever, but she hadn't taken Miami by storm as a radio talk show host. She was a little extra, attractive girl, Jason Taylor's sister. Hey, let's put her on radio. But she hadn't really done anything. But somehow she's qualified to be the host of Undisputed, a debate show between Skip Bayless, who, like him or not, was an accomplished sports journalist for a time, and a Hall of Fame football player in Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe reached the top of the sports industry. Skip Bayless reached the top of the sports media industry. And Joy Taylor had done some radio work down in Miami. What does she have to offer? So how does she get that job? How does she even get that opportunity? Because she's got a big pair of cans, and she's, according to Sheen, she's willing to let people enjoy those big cans of hers. That's how we got here. And it's not Joy Taylor's fault. And I want to go through and just, I'm trying not to disparage Joy Taylor, but the facts are the facts. I can remember I'm at Fox Sports at the time, and I ran into some friction because I didn't want a woman on a show that I was doing at Fox Sports. And so this is in 2015, 16, at the very beginning. And I can remember they brought Joy Taylor in for a test on the show that I was doing. Yeah, this is at the time when I was going to be initially doing my own show, and Cowherd was doing something else. And just keeping it all the way real, Charlie Dixon wanted her to be involved with my show. And so we brought her in for a test. And I didn't think the test went well. And I let everybody know, hey, I don't think this test went well. I don't want, this isn't the direction I wanted to go. I was trying to play nice and trying to meet them halfway in terms of okay, you guys are insisting on a woman being on this show because that's what everybody wants. And I was like, well, you need to bring a grown-ass woman on the show if it's going to be with me. It can't be at this time. This is 10 years ago. Joy Taylor's probably 25, 26 years old. You're talking about, I mean, I got a lot of discipline, but 25-year-old with them big cans and that peanut butter skin who has nothing to say, at some point I'm going to lose respect. And I'm like, well, the only thing she's got to offer is them big cans and that peanut butter skin. And so if I got to put up with this, I might as well enjoy them big cans. And so I said, no, I don't want to put myself in that position. And so I can remember, I brought in Bonnie Bernstein. Bonnie Bernstein's around my age, a few years younger, perhaps. But I was like, she's been around the block. She actually has been involved in sports media for a long time. She might have something of substance to offer. And the test we did with Bonnie Bernstein went much better. And I was like, if we're going to go, they were adamant, no Bonnie Bernstein. When I look back in retrospect, when I say they, I'm talking about Jamie Horowitz. And I don't know if I heard from Charlie Dixon on this, but I'd certainly heard from Jamie. They were adamant. No Bonnie Bernstein. And when I look back in retrospect, I'm not trying to disparage anybody. I'm just keeping it real. This show is called Fearless. I got to tell you the truth so you can understand these things. When I look back in retrospect, they were like, Bonnie Bernstein, she was 20 years ago. We've had our way with Bonnie Bernstein. We want something fresh and new. And so Bonnie Bernstein, a woman that's pushing 45, 50 at that time, no value, no interest. No one's sexually attracted enough to Bonnie Bernstein at that time to give her the job. And so we didn't do that. I kept holding firm. Next thing you know, me and Cowherd are doing the show together, and Jason McIntyre is going to be our sidekick. And that was a better landing for me than doing the show with a woman. I need, put me in a guy environment, guys talking, that's natural. That's what I thought had the most value. Down the road at Fox Sports, Christine Leahy, when Cowherd left the show, Christine Leahy wanted to replace Colin Cowherd. I wasn't for that. I considered it because I like Christine Leahy, and what I wanted in that next position, replacing Cowherd, was someone that was in a much more junior position to me than Colin Cowherd. And so, but Christine Leahy had no interest in that and told me flat out she wanted to do a 50-50 show. And I told Christine Leahy, who I liked, But I told her flat out, I was like, Christine, I can't do a 50-50 show with you. You don't know 50% of what I know. You don't know 20% of what I know. You're a child, an attractive one, but you're just a child. And so I can't do a show that's 50-50 with you. There's some things I could teach you in the junior position, but I would consider it, but 50-50, that's insanity. And that's how I ended up moving to Marcellus Wiley. I could do, in my view, this is just me keeping it real, I could do a 55-45 show with Marcellus Wiley. Guy, played sports at the highest level, very good personality, experienced. And so that's how we ended up with me and Marcellus and Speak for Yourself. I'm going to continue because I want to be crystal clear here. I like Charlie Dixon, the executive that allegedly was sleeping with Joy Taylor, and that's how she got her position, according to Nusheen, in this lawsuit. Just in the interest of transparency and just me keeping it real, when I was at Fox Sports, everybody, I don't know if this is factual, but I know what everybody thought. Everybody, these stories that Nusheen's talking about in this lawsuit, they were widespread and prevalent in 2016. Everybody across Fox Sports thought and gossiped about Joy Taylor and Charlie Dixon. Again, I heard the same talk as everyone else. My name was Bennett. I wasn't in it. But I do know that the women, and I'm going to leave a name out of this. I'm going to leave names out of this. But what's alleged in this lawsuit about Joy Taylor and her sleeping with Charlie Dixon and her telling Nusheen and others that she will control Charlie Dixon and that she will say that he sexually harassed her if he ever gets out of line, that was a common play. That was a common tactic by women in sports media. What Joy Taylor was, she's more transparent in talking about it than perhaps she should have been, but that was a very common practice. I had a very attractive, big-breasted woman that wanted to work at Fox Sports and another one, I'm not talking about Christine, but another one that wanted to be on Speak for Yourself. And she would ask me out to dinner about once a month and just let me know that in subtle and not so subtle ways, hey, you put me on Speak for Yourself, and these jugs and me could be your little plaything. And I value my independence. I value my ability to say what I think. I didn't want to give anybody leverage over me. And I've told you guys previous stories about executives asking me, hey, who on the network would you most like to sleep with? And my thoughts always were, particularly at that time out in Los Angeles, when I was out there from 2010 to 2020, I'm just like, I'm on TV, I make enough money, and there's enough women out here just giving it away, attractive women just giving it away. I don't need to be doing anything here on the job that could potentially undermine me. I didn't want to be in anybody's potential lawsuit. I didn't want Nusheen or anybody, not that I think Nusheen's a bad person, but I didn't want anybody having a lawsuit where they're talking about me. It's unnecessary. In Los Angeles, if you have money and any type of celebrity or notoriety, you don't need to screw girls on the job. It's lazy and it's stupid. But that's the trap that's laid, and most of these men have no discipline, have no foresight. They didn't have a father who was telling them when they were 19, 20, 21 years old, like, you start sleeping with them, you start working for them. And again, maybe I'm just sexist and too much of a patriarch, But I've just never really had a woman that I wanted to work for. They're too emotional and too thin-skinned for me. I say something they don't like, they can hold a grudge against me for the rest of my life. With a man, you got a shot at them getting over it. And again, so I say all this to say that I've read the 42-page lawsuit, read that right before we came on the air. I've had other people read it. I've talked with people that are in the know, and people are asking me, like, do you believe what's in the lawsuit? And what I would have to say to that, it has an air of truth to it. Do I think everything is told accurately? No. There's lawyer spin on any lawsuit. A lawyer's always going to twist a lawsuit and make it as sensational and as embarrassing as possible. But when you read through that lawsuit and she's citing dates and times and talking about a diary and talking about I went to human resources on this day or that day, she's not pulling that all out of her rear end. She's got receipts for what she's talking about. And so there are people have asked me about, you really think Skip Bayless offered her $1.5 million to have sex? And I was like, well, that's in the lawsuit, but here's how that could happen potentially. So if you understand Skip's personality and how hyper competitive in a delusional way, he's competitive. He actually thought the debates on that show were real. He actually thought there was a winner and loser to the debates he and Shannon Sharpe were having. He took that thing very seriously. I think, in my view, I think Skip's a little bit on the spectrum. He's a weird and different dude. And so he's locked into a competition with Shannon Sharpe in his mind. Shannon Sharpe is somewhat giggling, like, competition with Skip Bayless? I'm in the NFL Hall of Fame. The things Skip speculates about as it relates to sports, I know intimately. My brother, Sterling, an even better player than me. We know this sports game and arena. We were unbelievable athletes. In Shannon's mind, I'm not competing with Skip Bayless. This is a wannabe ex-jock who wrote about sports. He's in no competition. But eventually, Shannon is sharp enough. He's got that old school Southern street smarts enough to know Skip Bayless thinks he's competing with me. Well, let me draw Skip Bayless into a competition he will never be on the same planet with me on. You want to debate LeBron and GOAT, blah, 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 have at it. But in these sexual Olympics that athletes play in every day of their life, Skip Bayless is so outside of his area of expertise. And so what happens in these locker room environments at these sports networks, they inject them with all these athletes and they inject them with that locker room culture because they brought all those athletes in. There's a sexual Olympics inside of male locker rooms, probably female locker rooms too, but I've never been in a female locker room. But in a male locker room, there's a sexual competition going on. Everybody's swapping stories about who they're banging. And if you can rope someone like Skip Bayless into that sexual competition inside the locker room environment that's created at FS1, it's created at ESPN, wherever athletes go, they bring that culture with them. And so Skip Bayless, in his own foolishness, thinks he's competing with Shannon Sharpe and Shannon Sharpe's ability to seduce, flirt with, conquer the women inside the Fox Sports wardrobe, makeup, hairstylist, locker room. And if you read this lawsuit, Nusheen is saying Skip started accusing her of sleeping with Shannon Sharpe. That's a man that's trying to compete with Shannon Sharpe. And he's jealous of Shannon Sharpe and all of Shannon Sharpe's conquest. I'm going to say something here. I don't want you to misconstrue it, because the woman I'm about to reference here is someone I really like and respect. I'm not accusing her of anything. I'm just telling you what happened, and you can go check the tape. What you don't know is what happened behind the scenes. But some of you will remember this. Skip Bayless insinuated, flat out, somewhat stated, that Jenny Taft was having some sort of inappropriate relationship with Shannon Sharpe. He said something about seeing her come out of Shannon's dressing room or something like that, and she got upset on air. But off air, as soon as that show was over, she ran upstairs and lit in to the executives. One executive in particular. About this, Skip Bayless basically just accused me of sleeping. And Jenny Taft is married, and so she was irate. And this happened on air. And that was my first clue. Like, oh, this dude is jealous of Shannon Sharpe, and he's seeing ghosts everywhere. And Shannon's putting those ghosts out there. Shannon walked around that place like he was banging every makeup and wardrobe girl in the place. His little wing, the undisputed downstairs wing, dressing room area, whatever, Shannon was known for running around there in the tightest little boxer shorts that he could find and nothing else. Again, me and Cowher were on the second floor. I'm telling you what I heard. I'm just telling you what I heard. I'll just leave it at that. But he has baited Skip Bayless, for lack of a better explanation, into a pimp competition. Who can have the most girls in hair and makeup like them, want to be with them? And again, Skip's mindset is competition, and I'm competing with Shannon Sharpe. And Shannon Sharpe has now baited him into the sexual Olympics. And now Skip Bayless like, oh, he's sleeping with Jenny Taft. Oh, he must be sleeping with Nusheen. And Skip and Nusheen were very close. From afar, to me, it looked like they were best friends. They were, I'd see them in hair and makeup quite often, always conversating. Again, I don't know what they were talking about, but reading this lawsuit and what she's saying is at some point, Skip clearly got jealous and thought she was sleeping with Shannon Sharpe and kept accusing her of that. And so could I see Skip, and as close as he and Nusheen were, could I see Skip getting into a conversation that at the time he thought was playful, where he's then, again, because he's entered this sexual competition, he's throwing it out on the table, he's talking to Nusheen, the way he's overheard Shannon Sharpe talk to all of these women. These are just facts. Shannon Sharpe kept a flirtatious conversation going on with all of them. Things would fall out of his mouth to these women, and they'd laugh and they'd engage in a conversation with him that you couldn't pay me $1 million to say this stuff at work. Skip fell into it. Someone like me, I'm running away from it. I'm not in that competition. That competition is for idiots. That competition is for people that want to get me too. That competition is for people that want to end up in a lawsuit. And that's where Skip is. Because at some point he probably said something in jest of like, oh, what you need, what do I got to pay to get in them panties? Something along those lines. And Nusheen probably said, Shannon Sharpe said he would put me on scholarship for $1 million. And by scholarship, it's like, let me play a clip for you. And this is going to take much longer than I anticipated. Someone tell Steve Kim to be prepared for anything. perhaps not appearing until tomorrow, because this is going to take me longer than I anticipated. But I want to play the Gilbert Arenas clip. This is Gilbert Arenas. This is SOT number 5. This is Gilbert Arenas talking about the culture inside NBA locker rooms, and he's giving advice to a young woman basically about how to negotiate a scholarship from an NBA player that's making $30, $40 million a year. You know, but let's play the clip and then I'll explain.
So let's just say 4. If you 4 dudes a year or 3 dudes a year, I'm telling you, from the ages of probably 18 to 35, treat it like a business. Get you some NBA players. Let them 3 NBA players. Think about it. The NBA player on the lowest end, on the brokest in the NBA, he gonna pay you about $5,000 a month just to fuck with you. $5,000 a month. So if you got 3 of them, that's $15,000 a month just on the bottom end. Now you talking about you got like a James Harden, a Paul George or something, or me.
Heels, yeah.
You talking about just around with you. You talking about 10, 20 grand a month just to be cool. And you might have to sleep with dude maybe twice a month, 3 times a month, right? With those dudes, 3 times a month, depending. You making 60 grand a month. What job, what education you gonna get from the ages of 20 to 35 that's gonna pay you 60 grand a month?
That's not
not
a
realistic,
job.
though.
Like, what the fuck?
That's not
What?
realistic.
That's a job. Like,
What's going
You'll hear that, and I played that on this show previously. You'll hear that and think, oh, God, that must just be Gilbert Arenas. That must be just NBA players. No. That mentality, that locker room mentality of millionaires, could Skip Bayless end up in a joking conversation with Nushin, hairstylist, where they're talking about, hey, what type of scholarship program would I put you on? And could Nushin joke or have her overheard Shannon or somebody else say in passing, girl, you know, I'll break you off $20K a month. You know, we can do a 3-year deal. And could Nushin say, yeah, Shannon or Steven Jackson or somebody else that used to frequent on them shows was talking about, yeah, you know, I put you on $1 million scholarship. And Skip fire back, I'll do 1.5. He's saying this jokingly, but he said it. Y'all got help me out here. Who's that other woman there? That's on the side, because I don't know who that is. I know that's Skip Bayless. Is that Nushin? If that's Nushin, that's a great, great picture of Nushin. Yeah. Oh, that's Nushin. Yeah, that's Nushin looks good, but she normally don't look that good. And you know, I'll have to refresh. Nushin looks good, big butt, breast, pretty face when she's dolled up, but that's a really good picture. But anyway, could Skip get in that conversation? Absolutely. And then could a lawyer come in years later when this thing spins out of control and turn it into a super negative conversation that makes Skip Bayless look like a clown? Yes, that's how that happens. He started competing with Shannon Sharpe in the sexual Olympics, and he got out over his skis and he said something stupid, and now a lawyer has it and has turned it into something else. That's how that goes down. Let me take care of some business, and then I'm going to go back into this and walk you through a little bit about Joy Taylor and Emmanuel Acho and all that. But let me take care of, before we get too much deeper, let me take care of our great friends at Preborn. And we appreciate their sponsorship. Preborn is, guys, I'm doing a live read. Preborn is the organization that supports our worldview here at Fearless, that life begins at conception. This is near and dear to my heart. This is near and dear to the entire Fearless mission. Life begins at conception. Preborn supports that idea in a big way. they provide ultrasounds to women, expectant mothers who are considering abortion. Woman gets an ultrasound, hears that baby's heartbeat, they present an image of the baby in the womb. Now this woman is twice as likely to choose life, and that's when preborn steps in, and for up to 2 years, they will support that woman and that baby. Preborn saves babies' lives, and that's why we support preborn. There's nothing better you can do to start your new year than to be participating in the saving of babies' lives. Right now, there's 2 ways to give. You can hit pound 250 on your smartphone, say the keyword baby, whether you give $28, $280. I say $28 because that's what pays for 1 ultrasound, $140 pays for 5. But whether you give $28, $280, if you're willing to step up and give a leadership gift, we would really appreciate that. That's $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. That really powers preborn. The other way to give is the way that I prefer to give. I go to preborn.com/fearless. That's preborn.com/fearless. I've signed up for the monthly gift. Then half dozen times a year, I give more than my monthly gift. Do it. I hate to say it, it'll make you feel good. I really don't hate to say it. I'm just telling you, it'll make you feel good. You're doing something, you're contributing to society, you're helping preborn do God's work of saving babies. Please join the Fearless movement and please join the preborn movement. Please help us to save babies' lives. Pound 250, keyword baby, preborn.com/fearless. All right, back to my explanation here as it relates to Fox Sports. And I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. This is going to go longer than I anticipated because there's a lot to unpack here. Here's my deal with Joy Taylor. And my problem with Joy Taylor, if I were to have any problem with Joy Taylor, it's the feminist attitude. It's the hypocrisy. It's the finger wagging. It's the, oh, I've worked so much harder than everybody else and I earned all of this. This is why so many people are celebrating Joy Taylor being exposed and why so many people are like, well, she's just another version of Kamala Harris. And she's another example of DEI. And it's because she has run around putting herself on a pedestal and wagging her finger at everybody else and talking about all that she's overcome when she's really overcome nothing. And she should have spent all of her time talking to people about how grateful she was to get the opportunities that she's been given and how she jumped in line because of those big cans and peanut butter skin and her willingness, according to Nusheen, to share those big cans and peanut butter skin. But let's play SOT number 1 of Joy Taylor talking about all she's overcome.
Wake up call, same time. How would I not know how hard it is to do the show I work on? You have to constantly reaffirm that you are good enough, that you belong there, and then always prove it. So I would just always say you gotta do twice the work to get half the opportunity. But that, to me, the mentality I've always had on it is that just gonna make me better. So that's why I'm excellent. Because I had to be. I couldn't be average, I couldn't be okay, I couldn't be late, I couldn't complain, I couldn't say no. Now I do.
Right. That sounds completely different hearing it now, knowing what we know now, knowing what people knew back then, kept quiet about, that this hairstylist Nusheen has brought to the surface. That, and it's, let me be further transparent and just make sure I cover all my bases so that I'm completely transparent with you all and where we're coming from. I'm reading this 42-page document. And it talks about how in February of 2020, or approximately February of 2020, so I'm thinking February or March, in this lawsuit, Nusheen claims that she met Joy Taylor out for lunch or dinner, and Joy Taylor was there with Emmanuel Acho. And so this is in February of 2020 or March of 2020. And it rang a bell with me, and this is what I got to be transparent about. It rang a bell with me. I was like, oh, look at this. Joy Taylor's meeting with Emmanuel Acho in February or March of 2020. And later on it says that Nushin ran into Emmanuel Acho inside the Fox building, and come to find out he's working there. And she says something to Joy Taylor, and Joy Taylor says that, hey, I want Emmanuel Acho to insist that I'm on Speak for Yourself. And so this is later in 2020. This has to be, because I would think this has to be right around September of 2020, because I think that's when Emmanuel Acho started working with Marcellus Wiley. And so what that gives you a clue to is like the plans for Emmanuel Acho and Joy Taylor to be doing Speak for Yourself, that started in February or March of 2020. Guess who the host was of Speak for Yourself in February and March of 2020? Me. And this lines up and coincides with, I was given a take it or leave it offer, let's say in April of 2020. And Speak for Yourself with me and Marcellus was the only show on that network that was growing exponentially at that point. We were a rocket ship, growing. And I was looking forward to redoing my contract and getting compensated at a rate that was consistent with the growth of the show. Fox Sports said, no, we will not offer you a pay raise. We'll offer you the same thing. And I had made it clear that would be problematic and I would probably exit. And so they had already hatched plans. They were already interviewing my replacement, Emmanuel Acho, in February or March. And this is something that I sense, because, anybody that knows me knows that I'm a man of my word and I'll stick to my guns. And so when they said, hey, this is a take it or leave it offer, I indicated, well, I'll just leave it. And so they started hatching plans in February or March to replace me. I say all that to say, hear me out. I'm not saying this with animus or jealousy. Oh, Emmanuel Acho replaced you, and that's why Whitlock is saying this, and Joy Taylor. I'm telling you this is how far in advance that they think, because Joy Taylor did not join Speak for Yourself until 2022. So there was another person who they had already put into motion that they were going to move on from. And they had started doing this in February or March of 2020, and that would be Marcellus Wiley. Myself and Marcellus Wiley were doing Speak for Yourself at record ratings growth. Nothing else was growing. They put all their promotion into Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe, into Colin Cowherd, but we were outpacing them in growth, and actually Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe had already at that point started to decline. But they had said, we're moving on from Whitlock and Marcellus. Now here's a take it or leave it deal for Whitlock. If he takes it, we'll continue on, but if he doesn't, we're moving on. And they started hatching those plans, and Joy Taylor, because allegedly she's sleeping with Charlie Dixon, she has all of this insight into what their plans are and who's dead man walking and who isn't dead man walking. And this, again, she's got her hooks into Charlie Dixon. And I'm telling you guys, I like and respect Charlie Dixon. You've seen or heard me defend him on this show. But I'm not naive in terms of how this game is played. And I'm not naive on what the consequences are for someone like me who says, hey, I got a set of values and boundaries that I'm going to stick to. I'm not entering into anyone's at-work sexual Olympics. Therefore, I'm not going to be easy to control. I'm not going to be easy to compromise. And the people that they're more comfortable getting in bed with, are more easy to compromise and control. You've heard me allude to. Shannon Sharpe's not anywhere in this lawsuit. But trust me, they got an HR file on Shannon Sharpe that would make your head spin. The things that Shannon Sharpe did at FS1 make Joy Taylor look like Mother Teresa. But I'll leave it there because I don't want people to think I'm just unfairly going after Shannon Sharpe, although at some point I'm going to transition to you why I think Shannon Sharpe is the person pulling the strings on all of this. But the whole system in television is rigged towards how can we compromise people and control them. And so Nusheen's lawsuit says that they positioned Emmanuel Acho and Joy Taylor to start sleeping with each other. That makes both of them more easy to control. But it also gives Joy Taylor more leverage over the people managing her. And that's how someone who was doing a little talk radio down in Miami keeps getting on major television shows and promotion, Undisputed, to Colin Cowherd, to hosting Speak for Yourself with Emmanuel Acho, to now hosting Speak for Yourself with Keyshawn Johnson and Paul Pierce. How? Never said anything interesting, doesn't have any journalistic chops. She's got a big pair of cans, peanut butter skin, and according to Nusheen, a willingness to share those. This is, it's a corrupt system that's not intended to produce anything close to the truth, any conversation that leads people to truth. It's a system built to compromise everybody sexually, from the executives to the on-air talent to the hair and makeup girls. As long as everybody is dirty, now you can be controlled. That's what this whole sports TV and just TV media industry, it's all built around. It's all built around sexual compromise. And so Emmanuel Acho, who presents himself as a Christian and someone of great value, blah, blah, it's my understanding that throughout COVID, that's the late winter of 2020 through the summer of 2020, it's my understanding he and Joy Taylor were living together. And so I want to play you a clip of when a woman has you by the balls, when this is what you sound like. You sound like a simp. Let's play SOT number 2.
Just got done with rehearsal for the new show Speak, and I got to take a moment to shout out my co-host Joy Taylor. A woman, a black woman, daily show, sports. Do you all realize how hard it is to get into the position that she is in? So often there's misogyny and sexism running rampant in sports, and we don't even care what women have to say in sports. But Joy is not only in the position on television as a woman, as a black woman, but as an opinionist. So not just asking men what they think, but providing her own unique and distinct insight. It's hard to do, and Joy, you have done it. So congratulations. Looking forward to working with you, and hope y'all tune in 4:30 to 6 Eastern every day starting next week.
That's so incredible. I want to play it again. That's so incredible. I want to play it again. Play Emmanuel again.
Just got done with rehearsal for the new show Speak, and I got to take a moment to shout out my co-host Joy Taylor. A woman, a black woman, daily show, sports. Do you all realize how hard it is to get into the position that she is in? So often there's misogyny and sexism running rampant in sports, and we don't even care what women have to say in sports. But Joy is not only in the position on television as a woman, as a black woman, but as an opinionist. So not just asking men what they think, but providing her own unique and distinct insight. It's hard to do, and Joy, you have done it. So congratulations. Looking forward to working with you, and hope y'all tune in 4:30 to 6 Eastern every day starting next week.
I never want to sound like that. I never want to be that dishonest. Now, according to Nushin in this lawsuit, and according to people that I would know, connected to Fox Sports, this dude is banging Joy Taylor, or was at that time. Does he reference that at any point? Does he? And boy, she got that good. Joy Taylor, she's amazing on air, but man, if you knew what it was like off air, you'd understand. Never mentions it. Doesn't come up. I'm not saying this to put myself on a pedestal. I'm really not. I'm just keeping it real with you all. I'm a degenerate, idiot loser. I'm capable of all these sins that we're talking about. I'm capable of all of them. I've done some of them. But I keep it real with you all. I let you know. There's no way I could go on air and talk about Joy Taylor and be tapping that, or have been tapping that, or knew that she seduced me as part of getting. I couldn't do it. I would say nothing, or I would say, hey, and I tapped that, guys, and it's good. Or it's mediocre, but I still gave her the job. And gentlemen, young men out here, those of you that want to complain about how corrupt American media is, how corrupt American society is, how compromised we all are, and we want to fix it. But we don't want to ante up and be righteous ourselves. It starts with the man in the mirror. We want all of these things, but we're not willing to make any of the sacrifices necessary to be leaders and to pull this culture in a different direction. And trust me, it's hard. I had to leave Los Angeles, and I've had to do things that are against my natural sinful nature. That's hard. I'm sharing this as a way to try to inspire you. This is how real you have to get with yourself. I'm not patting myself on the back. Let me go ahead and confess something that's, it's a mild confession because it's just, but I'm just telling you how weak I am and how you're never cured from this. You just got to be in the fight and the struggle. I told you, I went to a wedding in Vegas over the Christmas holiday. And, I don't drink very often, but I had 2 drinks at the rehearsal dinner on Friday. And then on Saturday, I made the mistake and probably had, this was an amazing wedding. This was people that I really love. And to see them get through 50 years of marriage and see how happy they are and how rewarded they are for sticking with their marriage and just how close I am to them and their entire family, I celebrated in a way that I just haven't celebrated in years. I probably had 6 old fashions in a 3-hour window. And having 6 old fashions in a 3-hour window, I started feeling myself. And there was a friend who I invited to stop by the dinner afterwards or whatever. And I started flirting with her real strong. And I shouldn't have, it's just, I just shouldn't have. But I'm that weak. I'm that stupid. Nothing happened more than some harmless flirtation or whatever, but it was out of character for me. And it's why I try to avoid drinking, because, you put some liquor in me and I'm going to revert to factory settings. Just going to happen. And so I say all that to say This is why I don't go to Las Vegas. This is why I don't like leaving Tennessee. I got a little comfort area here in Tennessee and around here and a group of friends and all that I can stay in my safe zone. But I'm going to give you this example in terms of like, in order to produce the kind of society, men are going to have to make real sacrifice, and we're going to have to live righteously. And I'm giving you this example just to don't put yourself in these terrible positions. And so 3-4 years ago, there was a woman that emailed me over LinkedIn that said, you know, she wanted to meet with me and she wanted to work with what we were doing here at Fearless. And I don't say this with any pride. I'm just telling you this is how truthful and how real I've had to get with myself in order to not make the mistakes that I used to make. And so met the woman out for a lunch, a business meeting, and I'd say within 5 minutes of sitting down with her, I told her, hey, look, I got to just tell you something. You look way too good to be anywhere in my work environment. I'll never get any work done. I just won't. And I'm sorry. You may be qualified. You may have something to offer, but I'm just sorry. You look way too good, and I'll be going to work not thinking about what I'm doing. I'm thinking about you. And so there's a level of righteousness as men that we have to commit to. And it's why I would love to find the unicorn and get married so that I could put it, but again, I've made so many mistakes and rigged my taste and expectations in a way that I don't know if I can find what I would be loyal to. And so I got to go without. I just, because I can't lie to anybody else more, and I just can't live unrighteously anymore. I just can't do it, and be able to make the demands and make the improvements in the rest of society. And if we're not serious about getting married and or committing to our wives, we're never going to fix things, ever. Because we're always going to be silenced by our sin. And so you look at this system they built in television and in media and the whole influencer world, and it's all designed to build sexual dysfunction, sexual immorality, so that we're all compromised and we all have to shut up. And it's like, it's the mafia. It's like hey, you got to kill somebody before they'll let you in the mafia. You have to be as dirty as everybody else. When they're handing out that much money, that much influence, that much fame and attention, you got to be as dirty as everybody else, or they're not giving it to you. And so the whole system is designed to do that. And that's why phonies like an Emmanuel Acho, they'll get promoted. People with big cans and some peanut butter skin, Joy Taylor, they'll get opportunities, and you'll be sitting there like, how? Why? What? How did we build a system? We've had sports talk for years and decades. And then all of a sudden, everybody just figured out that when it got to TV, that in order to have sports talk, there must be an Instagram model sitting at the desk on the panel directing the conversation. Oh, there has to be a little Asian Mina Kimes doll talking NFL football in order for the conversation to have the diversity, equity, inclusion. No, man, they're spreading sexual immorality. They want you thinking with your penis all the time. Because if man thinks with his penis all the time, he's going to bow to women. And even the gay dudes are going to bow to women. But the heterosexual dudes, we're going to bow to women because we're thinking with our penis constantly. And we're constantly in a negotiation with women about, hey, pleasuring our penis. And that's why you need a wife who is submitted to you and to God. Or we're just going to continue to have more and more corruption. I want to take care of some more business, and then I'm going to go into why I think Shannon Sharpe is playing a role in all of this that's going on with Nusheen. But I want to talk to you guys about the Center for Academic Faithfulness and Flourishing. Before we get there, everyone knows I want to talk. Help me out here, guys. The Center for Academic Faithfulness and Flourishing. Everyone knows that college is a major investment. Excuse me? Well, why'd y'all give it to me? Let me go back. I apologize. Let me go back then to the show. I'm sorry. Now I'm a little bit, I want to go into Shannon Sharpe and why I think he's involved in this. So, Shannon Sharpe's name appears very, very briefly in this lawsuit. And it only really appears as it relates to Skip Bayless accusing Nusheen of sleeping with Shannon Sharpe. And yesterday I tweeted out that Shannon Sharpe, I hat tipped Shannon Sharpe, that Shannon Sharpe had two enemies at FS1 that he wanted to settle a score with, and this lawsuit settles a score for him. And that's Charlie Dixon, the executive, and that is Skip Bayless, his former co-host. He's made comments. He's made comments on other podcasts talking about Charlie Dixon and his problems, or alluding to Charlie Dixon and his problems with him. He certainly has made comments about his problems with Skip Bayless. And so yesterday, Shannon Sharpe on his own podcast with Nightcap, he's talking, I believe, with Ocho Cinco. He kind of rails against me, not stated, but saying that people are dropping his name and he had nothing to do with this lawsuit. Let's play SOT number 6.
F off, address the elephant in the room. You're trending on Twitter. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Guys, the news of the day, absolutely, it doesn't. What y'all want me to say?
That ain't got nothing to do with us.
Yeah, that ain't got nothing to do with me. So there's nothing to address. I don't know why everybody if you notice, everybody's posted it. They got me. In the 42 pages, it don't mention nothing about Shannon Sharpe did anything. But y'all want to get clicks, so y'all mention me.
Right. Yep, ain't got nothing to do with us.
He's talking about me. And he's talking about me, and he's upset with me for saying that Shannon Sharpe is behind this. And the reason why I believe Shannon Sharpe is behind this is because Nusheen airs a lot of people out in this, obviously. Joy Taylor, Charlie Dixon, Skip Bayless. And the reality is, from what I experienced my 4 or 5 years there is no one that was involved in more suspicious, eye-raising flirtation with makeup, wardrobe than Shannon Sharpe. And if you go look at the problems Shannon Sharpe had at CBS and all this other stuff, it's just amazing that Shannon Sharpe nowhere mentioned in this, but the two biggest people that he wants eliminated, damaged at FS1, they're assassinated in this. And so when a crime happens, you ask who benefits and who has motive. And this isn't me saying that Shannon Sharpe pulled Nusheen in and said, hey, baby girl, this is what we're going to do. This is me saying that Shannon Sharpe and Nusheen were friendly. Shannon Sharpe probably gave Nusheen a shoulder to cry on. And when she put together this lawsuit, I think Shannon Sharpe was aware and made sure that he could go on air and say what he just said. Shannon Sharpe ain't nowhere near in that. He had nothing to do with any of this. And I'm, by hat tipping Shannon Sharpe, I am not disparaging him. And I say that in all sincerity. I'm saying that in this corrupt television environment with all this phoniness and phony people and all of this sexual immorality built into the system and all of this leveraging of people for opportunities, Shannon Sharpe played the game the way the game should be played. There was a piece. Nusheen is basically a piece on the chessboard. Let's call her a pawn, and I don't say that disparagingly. But he caught wind of like, hey, there's a piece on the chessboard that could be moved in a direction that benefits me. And he took advantage of that. The same way his position is, Skip Bayless had pieces on the chessboard that he thought could move in a way that benefited Skip Bayless and eliminated Shannon Sharpe. So you will hear me and think, and Shannon Sharpe may think, that I'm attacking Shannon Sharpe. I'm not attacking Shannon Sharpe. I'm hat tipping the man for that's how you play the game. And I say that in all sincerity. You had a problem with Charlie Dixon and Skip Bayless. You caught wind of an opportunity to help someone help you inadvertently, and you did that. And the other clue in here, if you read the 42 pages, there was just this mysterious comment out of nowhere, and people will hear this, and this is me I'm totally committed to the audience. I'm not doing what's in my best interest. I'm here to tell you, the audience, what I think is going on, and damn the consequences to myself. And so I'm not trying to take a pot shot here at Colin Cowherd, but there's a sentence in these 42-page documents where it's just written in there for no reason that Colin Cowherd was nothing but nice and professional to me. I was like, where did this sentence come from? What did this have to do with anything? There's not a single sentence anywhere in this 42 where she says, and so. I mean, Nusheen, you knew me. You could. There was not a sentence, hey, and Jason Whitlock or Marcellus Wiley or anybody else. They never did anything. They were totally professional with me. There were other people there that were totally professional with you, but it was intentionally written in this 42-page deal that Colin Cowherd was nothing but professional with you. And so I read that and I go, well, who's Colin Cowherd in business with at the volume? Shannon Sharpe. And so Shannon Sharpe, there's nothing negative in there, and that guy had a lot going on at FS1, and then Colin Cowherd, he's completely exonerated. Who would ask for these things? Who? Because again, I don't think the lawyer was sitting there saying, hey, we better make sure we exonerate Colin Cowherd. We better make sure we say nothing, because no one cracked more jokes. No one said anything more potentially flirtatious or sexual inside that building for the 4 or 5 years I was there than Shannon Sharpe. And I'm not saying that to say Shannon Sharpe's got a sense of humor. And he cracked a lot of jokes with those women. A lot of them that if they had any animus towards him, they could spill out as like, or frame as like, oh man, that was really sexist, that was really damaging, that was really terrible. But not a negative word about Shannon Sharpe. And Colin Cowherd, the only sentence in there about him, Colin Cowherd was a great man. he walked on water. Cowherd, Sharpe, business partners at the Valiant. My understanding, again, this is me. I'm not trying to pick a fight with Colin Cowherd. I like and respect Colin Cowherd. I know he keeps his distance from me, and you know, I don't blame him. You know, I'm way too honest for all the money he wants to make. I get it. But my understanding is Cowherd's in a really, really tough contract negotiation. He's about to get really, really paid by Fox and or ESPN. And he's frustrated with Charlie Dixon. And has been, you know, Cowherd's a guy that's very loyal to Jamie Horowitz, who was briefly mentioned, but not in a real way in this lawsuit. Jamie Horowitz is the person that hired Charlie Dixon. Charlie Dixon was the number 2 to Jamie Horowitz, and Jamie Horowitz was someone who got fired for sexual harassment over something that I'm very intimately aware of. And it's why I'm sitting here saying, like, hey, when there's a piece on the chessboard that reveals itself as like, oh, this can be positioned in a way that benefits you. I've been in that position. And this is why I'm hat tipping Shannon Sharpe. Because I didn't like Jamie Horowitz. We did not get along. He has a mentality towards a black person like me that until I dropped to my knees and kissed his butt, he had no interest in helping me. He had no interest in allowing me to do what I do. So I didn't like Jamie Horowitz. And when there was a piece on that chessboard that came to me crying on my shoulder about problems they were having with Jamie Horowitz, I let him cry on my shoulder. Hey, I'll support you. Whatever it is you want to do. And I didn't tell him what to do, but I certainly let him cry on my shoulder. And I certainly gave them the confidence to eventually air out their problems. And it cost Jamie Horowitz his job. This show's called Fearless. I'm just keeping it real with you all. And this is why I say, Shannon Sharpe, hat tip, brother. It's a dirty game. You engaged in it properly, and you did what benefited you when someone presented you the opportunity. And you gave him that shoulder to cry on. Yeah, girl. I get it. Yeah, Charlie. Blah, blah. And it is what it is. But when I look at what's happened here at Fox Sports and who's been damaged, Charlie Dixon, Skip Bayless, well, who benefited from that? Who wanted those people damaged? And then, unbeknownst to them, this is just Nusheen, because Nusheen and Joy Taylor used to be best friends. Joy Taylor's the person that's really getting destroyed in this. And that's two women that used to be that close, that don't get along, and Nusheen probably feeling like a couple of people, Skip Bayless and Joy Taylor, made some promises to her that they haven't kept, and now Nusheen's out of work. Skip Bayless done made all the money he's made, $70 million, $80 million in television. Joy Taylor's got a TV show on FS1, and Nusheen's upset, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna burn this whole thing to the ground. I'm gonna take out Joy Taylor, and so who helped her? Who was? It's like Kamala Harris sitting there telling the Black Lives Matter rioters and looters, we'll pay your bail money. We'll pay for lawyers and bail money. That's basically what I'm suggesting Sharpe and or Cowherd just egg them on. Hey, we got your back, baby girl. Burn that whole thing down. That's my informed speculation on what is transferred. And I say that without an ounce of malice for any of these people. I've told you They haven't done anything that I haven't done. Nothing that I haven't done. I'm not, if I were out here acting like I'm better than them or they did something I wouldn't do, that'd be one thing. But I've done this, I've seen this, I know exactly what it looks like. I hope that, no one feels like I've betrayed them here in this conversation, but I got to be loyal to the audience. I got to tell you all the truth of what I see here, and that's what I've done. Have I? Let me check my notes here. Make sure that I covered. Yeah, I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover. Could we put up the Bone, Joy, and Harmony thumbnail? This is when I think about the clever things we've done here on this show. Holy cow! This had me laughing so hard this morning when we came up with this. I'm gonna keep it real. I was gonna lie and take full credit, but I can't. I just kept thinking, what words, what movie, what band could we play off of here? And I came up with, I was like, Bone Thugs and Harmony. There's got to be a way to turn that into Bone Thugs and Harmony. And then Shemeka came up with Bone, Joy, and Harmony, and I just couldn't quit laughing. And it's one of the most amazing, funny things. I don't know if it's fair, and I'm sure people are like, how come Charlie Dixon ain't pictured on there? You're favoring Charlie Dixon, and maybe I am, but no one knows who Charlie Dixon really is. Everybody knows these TV personalities. But anyway, this was, I hope, enlightening to you all. Maybe you had a little fun and but I think you got some insight into television and how it works and why I'm so critical of the corruption and how the feminist influence in television furthers the corruption. Men and women working together in a locker room culture, and that's what sports media TV is. It's going to lead to what Fox Sports is dealing with over and over and over again. And because everybody involved in television media, everybody basically, you have to ante up, you have to get involved in the sexual immorality in some capacity in order to really rise up. It never gets corrected because all of this stuff could get corrected. And it's why the Fox Sports, even though they enjoyed what I brought to the table, they could never really embrace it because I never would make my bones. I never would get fully immersed in the sexual corruption that makes people trust you. This, an American culture is controlled by this criminal, corrupt culture everywhere. In all of corporate America, you see indications of this, that the righteous man is actually the outsider. And the people that have dirt on them and are willing to participate in dirt, those are the people that get trusted. And only thing I compare it to is the mafia. And you watch The Sopranos, you watch The Godfather, but the realest show I ever watched, and I mentioned this before, was something called Gomorrah, I think. It was on Netflix or one of them deals. And when they showed a scene of a mafia don over in Italy, he pissed in a cup, and then he made one of these guys that wants to be in the mob drink the piss. And holy cow, that again, because it ain't just killing people, it's like how they want to know, are you willing to do anything before we let you into the mob? That's how TV's run. That's how it operates. And people like Joy Taylor elevate and reach the top, and then eventually it blows up. There's some kind of corruption allegations or lawsuit or something illegal goes on, and everybody goes down with the ship. All right, we'll take a break. Is Steve Kim, you guys let me know. I wouldn't mind bringing on Steve Kim to talk about Jerod Mayo, and then we'll get to Shemeka Michelle. We'll do that next.
ESPN sucks.
He should, in my opinion, as a brotherhood, he should never play again.
Ever again?
Ever again. Why would you want him on your team?
So you're going to judge him in his. I have a hard time judging a man in his worst moment. It's been worse atrocities that happen on a football team than him refusing to go in. So Deontay Johnson should never play again.
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Why would I want him on my team?
And talk about Dak, because I can show you just how much he is struggling.
Don't do that. No. Nah, I quit.
Dak Prescott.
Nope.
Tad
yesterday
is not gonna like this
on
one.
3rd and 4th downs. His numbers were the worst we have seen from any quarterback since Tim Tebow. Ryan Clark is walking out of the studio. The numbers are what the numbers are.
Before people think I'm going to get up here and say, oh, Aaron Rodgers is egotistical, oh, Aaron Rodgers is arrogant, Aaron Rodgers would be right to be the vice presidential candidate. You know why? Because who wouldn't? I would. Right, so that's the thing, though, L, right? So they can't go to Tua Tagovailoa and say this is what's going to happen.
Sure, because it could be something that doesn't show up for many, many years, and I understand that. But that's why I'm asking, hindsight being 2020 and knowing what you know now about CTE and how it impacts former players, would you go back in time and make a different decision?
Me?
Yes.
Hell no.
And that's why ESPN sucks.
모두 다 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 Reason that I'm back is to feed you raps I see that you are 배불러 So
All right, welcome back. Steve Kim, welcome back to the show. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Steve, as quickly as you can, do you have I want to spend 3 or 4 minutes on Fox Sports and then a few minutes on Jerod Mayo getting fired. Your thoughts on the Fox Sports lawsuit, my explanation.
Yeah, a couple of notes here, just mental notes. I've been kind of jotting this down. All right, here's the one thing that makes me raise an eyebrow at this whole alleged situation and the lawsuit. That number, 1.5 million. Really? 1.5 million, Skip Bayless. I hope to God he's never in charge of a budget or a salary cap. I mean, if he's willing to do that much, he would mismanage a salary cap worse than Jerry Jones. I could see maybe 1,500, maybe 150K, but 1.5 million. I don't think the Pentagon overspends that much on building a toilet or an outhouse. That, again, I want to get some confirmation on that. Other thing.
Hold for 1 second before we move. Yeah. Hold for 1 second. Hold for 1 second. You got to remember, Kamala paid Beyonce, $10 million for a little brief appearance at a political event. So maybe Skip's got the same budget.
All right. Well, one guy's trying to bust and the other person's trying to be the president. Again, you pay for certain things. Also, Emmanuel Acho.
Go ahead.
Emmanuel Acho, those conversations that Speak must be really uncomfortable now. Okay. And by the way, I think today's Speak may be the most must-watch television that show's ever been since you and Marcellus left. And one last thing here with Joy Taylor, just to get a little serious about this. The fact that she had the Me Too card against Mr. Dixon in her back pocket, all lined up, ready to go, just in case things went sideways, I think is scary. I really do. And it's just incredibly ironic when you look at some of these clips that are now being disseminated all over Twitter about how Joy Taylor had to work twice as hard to get, and I'm just like, what a fraud. By the way, it furthers my point on the theory that any group of people or an individual that says they have to work twice as hard to get to where they were, I think it's the biggest lie told in modern Western society. Thomas Sowell has talked about it, and it's ironic that Joy Taylor, of all people, is not emblematic of that.
All right, Steve, I want to move on to Jerod Mayo. I want to get this in. I want to start with SOT number 17. Here's Rob Gronkowski yesterday on NFL Today. He's about to talk about Jerod Mayo and how unfair it appears. Mike Strahan cuts him off. Let's play SOT 17.
Already, Jerod Mayo out after one season as the Patriots head coach.
I was shocked by that, and to happen that soon was a shocker to a lot of people, especially here at the desk. We were all surprised by that. I think it was unfair to Coach Jerod Mayo. I mean, he had never had the chance to develop as a head coach. He was just a rookie himself in that department. And if you judge a coach by their first year, that's really not appropriate. I mean, Jimmy Johnson, you went 1-15 your first year, and then you won a couple Super Bowls after that. I mean, he really...
Hey, we got to go to break.
Oh, no, I mean...
All right, we're going to keep talking about that.
Steve, were the Patriots unfair to Jerod Mayo?
On the surface, it seems like they were. There's not that many coaches that get 1 year, especially with the rookie quarterback. But all the reports were he was really bad, that it went beyond the record. And I think there's a dynamic at play here. You have a young quarterback that needs development. All right, he flashed a little bit in Drake May, and maybe even Joe Milton down the line becomes a valuable piece you could trade off. So what do you do in a situation like that? You better get yourself an offensive guru. So as this news broke, and I'm watching Detroit do what they do last night, I kept thinking to myself, if you're Drake May, you are hoping and praying that Ben Johnson's your new head coach. And I just, again, this is just my gut feel, that if you're Bob Kraft, you gave it a shot, it didn't work out, and you figure, you know what, my next run as a good franchise is going to come with Drake May. So I better pair Drake May with the best available offensive guru that may have come along in the last decade. So maybe this is really not maybe so much about Jerod Mayo, as unfair as it was, but maybe it's about, hey, we better jump on Ben Johnson. So
here's a list I saw. I read up Greg Bedard, who's covered the Patriots for decades. He's been writing about Jerod Mayo and the problems pretty much all season, and he put out a list of hey, since 2011, here's the coaches that got fired after just one season. Hugh Jackson, the Raiders, he went 8-8. Mike Mularkey, Jaguars, went 2-14. Rob Chudzinski with the Browns went 4-12. Jim Tomsula with the 49ers went 5-11. Chip Kelly with the 49ers 2-14. Steve Wilkes 3-13. Freddie Kitchens with the Browns 6-10. So it's not unprecedented, and it cuts both ways. Of course, this one here is going to be racialized. And me, from reading Greg Bedard's work, it's like, I think the Patriots, and this is according to him, it's in his stories, it's in his reporting, the Patriots started having regrets during the offseason. that during the offseason, before they even played a game, Bob Kraft started getting reports of how Mayo interacted with former assistant coaches. Bill O'Brien, I think 2 days after they announced Jerod Mayo as head coach, took a job as an offensive coordinator in college. And so there were all these people who was like, I can't believe Bob Kraft just made Mayo the head coach. And Steve, I think about, let's play the opening day press conference where Jerod Mayo says he sees color so he can see racism. And he was not on the same page with Bob Kraft as it relates to this. And that's when I was like, oh, there's going to be problems. Play SOT number 8.
I do see color because I believe if you don't see color, you can't see racism. And whatever happens, black, white, disabled person, I've always, even someone with disabilities, I always, for the most part, people are like, when they're young, they kind of make the spot hot.
younger people know what that means. But what I would say is, like, no, I want you to be able to go up to those people and really understand those people. So it goes back to whatever it is, black, white, yellow, it really doesn't matter, but it does matter so we can try to fix a problem that we all know we have.
Tell you, as soon as I heard that, I was like, this guy's in over his skis. He's not on the same page with his owner. That's going to be problematic. People want to hire leadership that mirrors their outlook, and when it doesn't, it's just not going to work. And I think they figured that out very quickly with Jerod Mayo, that he's got a very simplistic worldview that's not consistent with the beliefs of the great coaches.
Jason, this job was always going to be tough given the fact you are replacing maybe the most accomplished football coach in the history of the National Football League, right? And then you go out there and replace. I'll be honest with you, Jason, 12 to 13 months ago, when you read these stories about who are the hot new candidates, I never really recall Jerod Mayo being on a short list. Like, he's not last year's Ben Johnson, right? Or when Kyle Shanahan was a coordinator with the Falcons, everyone kind of knew within due time that's going to be a head coach. But some of this, I think a lot of this has to be put on Kraft. Kraft thought he was gaining social credit. Think about what Kraft has done the last couple of years outside of football. Wasn't he all for criminal justice reform? And then he buddies up to Meek Mill because I'm sure those two have a lot in common, right? And you know, we saw some of the stuff. You know, he got that happy ending at the play, so it's embarrassing. So maybe he feels as though I got to make up for it. But I did not understand this. When he started doing all of that, I was wondering, what does that have to do with anything that is conducive to continuing the tradition of the New England Patriots? And I really believe that Robert Kraft wanted to ingratiate himself with a certain sect of society by making this particular hire.
And it's blown up in his face, and I think you're 1,000% accurate that, you know, he wanted to go this woke route and get all this celebration. You got to remember, Bob Kraft, for some reason, is struggling to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And perhaps he thought hopping on the woke train would help him with, you know, voters, which is the media that love to be on the woke train. Perhaps he thought, you know, this would help him out, but it hasn't. And I'm telling you, I followed Bill Simmons' Twitter feed all year on the Patriots.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, this isn't going well with Patriots fans. And I think last week, 2 weeks ago or whatever, they were chanting fire Jerod Mayo. And so this thing is going to get spun. Oh, here we go, racist Boston fans or whatever. But them same Boston fans, they love Joe Mazzulla. And, you know, they love plenty of other guys. I think Jerod Mayo was in over his head, and it was a bad woke hire. And I give credit to Bob Kraft for saying, hey, man, we got a franchise quarterback. I don't want to turn him over to a bad defensive coach. Our defense has gotten worse. We got to move on. Hats off to him. Steve, I know you got to go do your thing with Mario, but thank you for making the time. We'll get to a couple other. I want to talk to you tomorrow about Shedeur Sanders doesn't have a first-round grade on his draft. That's not going to go over well with Dion. So I'm going to let you bounce. We're going to get to Shemeka Michelle and Butter and try to wrap up this show. Thank you, Steve. We'll be back with Shemeka Michelle next.
Social media today has replaced the reality shows, you know, your favorite shows, Jason, Jersey Shore, The Kardashians, Real Housewives, things like that, Real World. People used to bet on that stuff all the time. That just, you know, stuff was, you had to go to Vegas to do it, or you have to do it, you know, offshore. And so I told you, I used to do a radio show with Jim Edmonds, Cardinals Hall of Famer, center fielder. He was on Real Housewives of Orange County with a girl named Megan King. And their relationship was so public, people bet on this stuff. Are they going to stay together? They got divorced. Well, that's stuff you could all bet on. And so I don't know if Travis wants this. His fiance certainly does. This is how she's getting famous, and she's using him to do it because no one would ever in her life have a clue who she was without Travis Hunter.
She's a different kind of Hawk Tua. She's probably a bit more calculated than Hawk Tua, but I do think of, when I thought of this, I thought of Hawk Tua in terms of like, man, these women, young girls are coming from out of nowhere, building up these social media followings. One minute we have no idea who they are. The next minute, everybody has all these very strong opinions about them and their actions and behaviors. And there's just cash registers ringing in all of their eyes and ears, and maybe they know exactly what they're doing. All right, welcome back. Man, I got so off track and got so off, not off track, but just so deep down in the rabbit hole myself that we weren't able to get to a bunch of other stuff. And so, anyway, I need a review of the show, Butter, Shemeka. Shemeka, welcome back to the program. We'll let you fire first. We'll just start off with a little review of the program, and I may ask you, Shemeka, about some Angel Reese pictures I saw over the holidays. But anyway, your thoughts on today's show?
Boom, 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 boom. Listen, I saw someone in the chat call her Thotty Bone. So we had a good time in the chat today, Jason. But listen, I am so glad this has come out because it really irritates me when women such as her actually sleep their way to the top because it makes the rest of us look bad. Someone, said that I was thirsty, and it really irritated me simply because even at my age, I know that I could be flued out, as the young girls say nowadays. But I've never wanted that to be the way that I got noticed. I always wanted it to be about my God-given wisdom, about my willingness to be fearless and say what needs to be said, and my loyalty, and just the way that I am a hard worker. And so when we have women that are doing these types of things and saying, oh, I can just claim I was raped, it's really hard for the rest of us. And I've joked with you before how, God, Jason, your guard is always up. But I understand why when I see instances such as this, it makes sense that when I'm in town, we don't go out to eat. People can think and say anything and make things up. And women like this just really make it hard for the rest of us.
Butter, you got any thoughts on?
Yeah, Shemeka, I brought Jason a little late Christmas present, and based on today's show, I brought him some big cans and some peanut butter.
Yeah, I do like big cans of peanut butter, and Joy Taylor had that in spades. But I'm just not. Again, my father told me years and years ago, you start tapping them, you start working for them, and I prefer to work for myself or work for God, one or the other. But I've been trying to. People have asked me all yesterday, like, "Hey, what happens here?" And this will be fascinating. Whatever, 3 or 4 in the afternoon. If you're Joy Taylor, can you come on air today like nothing happened? Can she be on that show today?
I don't think so, but I do understand that women a lot of times will double down and act like nothing is wrong. They will really cut off their nose to spite their own face. Like they will continue to come at. The perfect example was the woman we saw over the break that kept coming to me, posting her pictures when she was shaped like SpongeBob, trying to tell me she was better looking than I was. It's delusion. So we'll get to see how delusional Joy is if she actually comes on air and doubles down as if she's been a hard worker. One of the things I would like to say is when Emmanuel Acho said how hard it is to be in this position, maybe those positions were hard. I was wondering to myself, what position is he talking about? The butterfly, bone prone, cowgirl, reverse cowgirl. Maybe these positions were hard for her. So I'm interested in seeing if she doubles down and how delusional she really may be.
It's going to be fascinating. Do you think it's fair, and I don't know how much, if you read all 42 pages, read the stories, is it fair that she's bearing the brunt of this? It's not Skip Bayless, it's not Charlie Dixon, it's not Emmanuel Acho, it's Joy Taylor is taking the most heat from this lawsuit. Is that fair?
Yes, I definitely think it's fair because as much as women want to act as if, we want to be equal or there's no difference, we know the way this game is played and we know exactly what's going to happen. She's not the first and she won't be the last, but because she's not the first, she definitely should have known how this would all play out. When you carry yourself like that as a woman, you have to be willing to take the blowback. And no pun intended. You have to be willing to take that because that's what's going to happen. You're not going to be looked at like a man. Men are expected to kind of play the field and be all over the place and, be a man. We don't get that as women. And I just feel like you should carry yourself as a woman and not try to do this. So I don't feel any sympathy or empathy for her for getting all of the pushback and it being on her shoulders because we know this. And so she knew this when she started doing exactly whatever she did. She knew this when she was sitting, lying and being dishonest about it. If you're spreading your legs to get to the top, at least have enough guts to say that's what you're doing. But she constantly tried to act as if she had to work 2 times harder just to get half of the way up the ladder. And that's not the case. Or maybe it is. Maybe she was the one doing all the work in the bedroom. Who knows? But she knew this before she actually started doing it.
Butter, is it fair that the woman here is taking the most heat?
I don't know. Seems like I wonder how this whole thing happened. Was there some jealousy? I think Shemeka's been dead on point with these jokes, though. The comedy and sleeping her way in the positions. You forgot the bread racker. You forgot the bread racker as well in there.
Should we save the Angel Reese for tomorrow? I want to save it for tomorrow. We can get to that tomorrow. I'm gonna let you go. We're gonna wrap up this show. That's the best I can do for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't know if I'll circle back to this tomorrow now. Hopefully we'll get rid of the Christmas trees. Thank you guys. We'll play tomorrow and we'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on the corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be. I just want.